Venezuela might have a mustached dictator running the country into the ground, but they do also have some nice football grounds. So let's check out the Venezuelan Primera División stadiums. La Bombonerita. It's just like La Bombonera in Buenos Aires, except smaller. Or maybe it's the female version, or both. No hablo español. There is just the one grandstand here, but it's a pretty impressive and unique one, with plenty of the vibrant club colours on display. Although there are very few actual seats in the house, you'll have to put up with bare concrete. The stadium's official name is the Socialist Sports Complex, albeit in Spanish. So I guess they think the plastic seats are like one of the excesses of capitalism or something. Estadio Ricardo Tulio Maya. Well, we seem to have started off with the two smallest stadiums in the league. They do get bigger and better, I promise. This is another one-stand wonder, and that one stand is a country mile away from the pitch. A pitch that has an ugly running track around it. Not many positives to point out. I guess pretty much all the spectators are sheltered from the rain, so that's good. Oh, and their backs are supported by the goodness of plastic. Estadio Misao Delgado. Okay, well, we haven't seen a four-sided stadium just yet. We are getting closer. You'll notice that there is a bat depicted on the stands. At first I couldn't find any connection with this club and bats. And I noticed that this ground is situated in Valencia. And when we take a look at the largest stadium in Valencia, Spain, there's a big old bat. So that has something to do with that. It might not be as impressive as its Spanish counterpart, but it's not too bad. Oh wait a minute, there are two bats. Estadio Olímpico de la UCV. There you have it, a four-sided stadium. At last. One that's home to 4 top-tier clubs, no less. That's not very common, but it is after all the biggest stadium in the capital city, which is also the biggest city in Venezuela. Design-wise, I really do like the C-shaped stand that tapers down at each end, and I appreciate that they didn't opt for a boring neutral colour scheme, just because it's home to many clubs. There is a lovely view of the city in the background as well. One of those 4 clubs also plays at a smaller stadium elsewhere in the city, one called Estadio Brigido Iriarte. Brigido Iriarte was an athlete, primarily known for pole vaulting. You know, I've always wondered whether a pole vaulter has ever been impaled by their pole in the style of Vlad the Impaler. But to be honest, I don't even want to look it up because it probably has happened. Anyway, the stadium is also home to some second tier teams, so it's fitting that both the stands have a second tier of seating. That does make sense, but they are quite steeply stacked, which is a good thing. Estadio Jose Pacheco Romero was built on the site of what was this city's first ever airport, but nowadays if you see a plane coming into land, you are probably high, because the area is now home to several other sports venues as well as a university. The ground was originally surrounded by not only the running track, but a concrete velodrome as well. That was replaced by additional seating in the mid-2000s. You can still see some remnants of that velodrome below the main stand. The stadium's most distinctive feature would have to be the triple-tiered stand at the southern end. Very odd, but kinda cool. Estadio Polideportivo de Pueblo Nuevo, also known as El Templo Sagrado, the Sacred Temple, because it is held in high regard amongst Venezuelan football fans, partially due to the fact that it's been the site of several famous international victories. Speaking of sight, the view that you're treated to if you're sitting in the main stand is a beautiful sight. The stadium sits at the base of the Andean foothills. Andean foothills, you know, as in the Andes mountain range. Yes, there you are. Much better. In the early days, only the stands facing away from the hills existed. The main stand was added a few years after it opened. It's certainly the place to be. Estadio Metropolitano de Merida is located at around 1,650 meters or about a mile above sea level, making it the highest stadium of note in Venezuela. If you watched the Bolivia video a while back, a mile high is kinda low by comparison. It took less than half a year to build this place, which seems pretty impressive given its size. Having said that, these could have just been flat-pack grandstands purchased from IKEA. For some reason the stands are kinda straight, as you would see at a rectangular stadium, but there is a running track, so that leaves those spectators sitting closer to the corners, a lot further away from the action. Otherwise it seems like a nice stadium. Estadio Agustin Tovar. Oddly enough, this stadium's named after a boxer. Oh my god, again. This kind of boxer, obviously. I could understand the pole vaulter having an athletic stadium named after him, but I don't think you see much boxing going on here. Anyway, not important. You may have noticed a few of the stadiums in this league were built around 2007. Well, Venezuela hosted the Copa America then. The price of oil had skyrocketed a few years prior, so they had money to burn. Yes, they sold the oil for money, and then burned the money to generate electricity, which helped them build the stadiums. That's how it works. There was already a football ground on this site, but it was mostly demolished. Same goes with a few of the other class of 2007ers. Estadio Monumento de Maturin. This is one of the most modern stadiums in the league, in more ways than one. Obviously it was purpose-built for football, unlike most of the stadiums in this league. There's also a wraparound roof covering a majority of the seating, and there's even an attached shopping centre. So if you don't mind bringing a couple of wheelbarrows of the local currency along, you could buy like a shirt or something. I think the going rate for a replica jersey is like 3.5 wheelbarrows. It's also the largest stadium in the league with the capacity of over 50,000. To be honest, it looks a bit smaller than that. Perhaps the seats and legroom are smaller than what you see elsewhere. Estadio General Jose Antonio Paez. This is home to a club called Portuguesa, named for the state in which it's located. I was curious about that name. I wondered, is this like a Portuguese-speaking enclave? Nope. It's just named after the Portuguesa River. But there is a significant Portuguese minority. Venezuela does have the second largest Portuguese diaspora on the continent, behind Brazil. Anyway, the stadium's named after the first ever president of Venezuela, which is fitting, because it does look as though it hasn't been updated since he was president in the 1860s. Or at least since it opened in 1973. So there you have it, time to pick a favourite. I think I'll go with El Templo Sagrado. It's just got a bit of everything, including a cool nickname. Thanks for watching, have a good one.